I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 9th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services, your LRP specialist. That's Dakota Moss, officing right there in the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. If you're there, stop in and see him. If you're not, give him a call. He can answer all your questions. Guys, these prices are too high not to protect yourself. You've absolutely got to do something to protect yourself. The LRPs are the simplest and the most natural way to do that. For more information, go to livestockriskservices.com. Too hot or too high? The beef production has been down significantly for the last 5 weeks here, and prices are sluggish too. We think they have bottomed out here seasonally, and they are going to start taking off here as we start approaching the fall of the year. But they just have really been struggling with choice cuts right around the $300 level. Now the packers are really wanting to send them up to start trying to offset some of these higher prices in the fat cattle that they've been having to pay. But they're having a harder time doing that. But they do have the luxury of charging more for the product that they are selling while they're trying to negotiate cheaper prices on what they're buying. Now we have seen the packers here of late in the last few weeks really digging in and trying to do something about the one thing that they can do something about, and that is what they pay for fat cattle. But at the same time, we've seen that the few guys that sell negotiated cash have been staying together a little bit more and wait until the very last minute and trying to get all they can out of the market. Well, that's the way that goes pretty much all the time. But what's happening to our beef demand? Our beef demand is going to take a hit when these packers pass these sharply higher prices on to your retailers, and then to the end users. They're going to have to pay it on down the line, and some people aren't going to be able to pay it. We've been afraid of this for a long time, of beef becoming too much of a luxury for everyday people to afford. We feel like that they are going to, especially for hamburger meat and things like that, and they will do that. But maybe not for your best muscle cuts. They're still going to do that whenever they go out and celebrate. People, for the most part, don't shy away from paying for a good steak whenever they're taking their loved ones out or out with friends and things like that. But they had gotten used to bringing those muscle cuts home during the pandemic there, and cooking those on the grill. And we have enjoyed that quite a bit for the last couple of years since we've come out of COVID. But people aren't going to cook on the grill when it's over 100 degrees. Now, it's not in a lot of places right now this week, but it was the last week or two, and in a lot of your big high population areas, especially out in the northeastern seaboard and along there where we have lots of people. You know, if you've got a grill out there on a 7th floor condo or something like that, you go out in the evenings or when the sun is still up, but you're off work, it's too hot. You can't start your grill up there. You can't stand it. And you're not going to do that. People tend to eat lighter when it's that hot. Now, I've been down in the Texas Hill Country here for the last several days. I'm glad to be back here in friendly confines of the Texas Panhandle. But oh my God, is it miserable down there in the Hill Country. It's just too hot. It's unbearably hot. But you get further up, this week, Oklahoma, get up into the Midwest, places like that, a lot more moderate. Maybe even with highs in just the high 70s, not even up into the 80s here. Well, that's going to coax a lot of people out onto the backyard grill, out onto their patios, doing a little bit more of that kind of thing. But whenever we had a couple of weeks there where everybody was getting triple digit heat, they're just not going to go out and do that. But I think we are going to see people start coming back out as the heat starts to moderate in more places. We start working our way through these dog days of summer. And then by the time you get into September, there's a lot of places like here in the Texas Panhandle, there's going to be days in September you're going to need a jacket. That's when people really like to get out there and can kind of warm up by the grill and cook them a good steak and some things like that with friends and watching football and things like that. We can't wait for all that kind of thing to happen. I want to give you a couple of little things of note. One is I want to mention the passing of Rudy Stanko. And he was a very a character, I guess is what I should say. Quite a character. I didn't actually know Rudy, but a lot of people in the northern plains up there did. Up there in western South Dakota, western Nebraska, in the Montana area there. He was quite charismatic. He'd done a lot of things in his life. He was like they say, a lover, a fighter, and a wild bull rider. He was a wrestler. Went to college for wrestling. He was a boxer. He won a competition, was undefeated in a competition called the Toughest Man in Wyoming competition. There were many times. He was in the meat packing business. He promoted himself very, very well. The way that I remember his name and knew who he was almost 30 years ago, whenever I was just started working for USDA Market News and was sent out to the Billings, Montana area to report markets for USDA for about a month there. I went out there, and during that time they didn't have a speed limit in Montana. The signs, they didn't have a sign posted for a speed limit, it just said safe and prudent out there. Well, you know, I was an early 20s kid there and had rented me a Dodge Intrepid. You know, I thought it was an Autobahn. I had to try it out too. Well, Rudy Stanko, he had some experience in stock car racing. He drove a big old Lincoln Town Car, and he drove over 100 miles an hour everywhere he went. Well, he had gotten stopped and had a stack of tickets and was refusing to pay those tickets because he said there was no speed limit, so how could they do that? And he was on the front page of the Billings paper almost every day during the time that I was up there. And it was very comical to read his one-liners and the statements that he would put out. You know, he said what safe and prudent meant to him or Mario Andretti was totally different than what it meant to maybe a little old lady that was driving to church and things like that. But he ended up winning that, or not having to pay those tickets, and he was going well over 100 miles an hour on several of those tickets. But Rudy passed last week, and I don't know the circumstances under that, but I just thought that he was worth mentioning, and I know a lot of you guys up there in the northern plains and up there in the mountain states will remember him, and whether you knew him well or liked him or not, you'll have fond memories of some of the stories about him. I want to say another thing here, and many times I talk about how our sale barns are the pillars of the community. Especially the ag community, absolutely the ag community, but in these real small towns, they are the pillar of the entire community. It's where people go to support things and different deals like that. Well, they had one of those, and we see those happen fairly regular, but they had one happen in Dunlap Livestock Auction on Tuesday for the cow sale there, and it was a young fella named Colin Garrett that lost his life in an accident there, and he was a member of a farming family there that's well thought of in the local area there around Dunlap, Iowa. And John Shaven decided that he would donate a calf. He and his family would donate a calf, and that they would have a rollover auction there and raise some money for a memorial scholarship so that Colin's name would always be remembered, and they could have that scholarship for somebody around the local area that wanted to go to college and needed some help and were going to major in ag. Well, they did have that rollover sale there. There was 125 people that were involved in it in one way or the other as far as bidding the prices up, and they raised around $120,000 at Dunlap Livestock Auction on Tuesday, and that's amazing. That's what can happen when you get good people together there. The community sale barn, and they're supporting the ag community and the families around there. But we hate it that Colin lost his life in an accident there, but I know that his family will be really happy that there's going to be a memorial scholarship in his name, and his name will be remembered for a long time to come. Let's talk about your board on Tuesday. August live cattle futures were unchanged, and I guess the futures market likes the market where it's at 179.70, trading at a small little basis there to what your Southern Plains market was, but a huge basis to where the Northern Plains market is. And I'm not sure if they're expecting the Northern Plains people to continue to use that as a rough draft of what the market should be, or a way to offset risk, or how it really helps them. October live cattle futures down 52 cents at 180.90. Your back months were mixed from down 57 cents to up 87. August feeder cattle were down 97 cents, took a hit, 246 even. September was down $1.45 at 249.42. Your back months were all down on feeder cattle, down 55 cents to down 167. December corn futures were up 3 cents at 498 3/4, still staying below the $5 level there. New crop November beans up 4 cents at 13.06. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September, unbelievably calm, just up 3/4 cent, and not 34 cents or 65 cents or something crazy like that, but settling regular trading on Tuesday at 770.5. Talk about your fat cattle trade. Of course, we haven't seen anything happen, and we've gotten into a routine here, and I don't know how long this is going to last, but seasonally at least we're seeing this routine where we don't see any trade at all. We see a little bit of Northern Plains trade start late Wednesday and sometimes on Thursday, but the Southern Plains have not been trading and are not expected to trade until late Friday, after the 2 o'clock deadline for packers to put that information in to mandatory price reporting. So we really don't know what the Southern Plains market is until the following Monday, and then we start the routine all over again. But we weren't expecting anything on Tuesday, and that's not out of the ordinary, but just thought it was worth mentioning how late we're starting to trade all the time. But we did have our best brick and mortar fat cattle auction, Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. Lighter run for them, and it wasn't from the heat. The temperatures were very moderate there. As I talked to Gary Marks, he was telling me what was going on up there, but just tighter numbers, just like they're tighter everywhere. Said there was only 750 head in overnight, only about 1,250 total slaughter cattle there for the sale at Stockman's Livestock in Yankton. Drug-free cattle were not well tested. Conventional cattle, just cattle, sold $2 to $6 higher, steers and heifers, ranging in price from $182 to $189, with a few deals up to $190.50. And there was a bigger run of them than there was non-implanted cattle, but they had several non-implanted cattle there. The bulk of those sold from $191 to $198. That was $5 to $7 higher, and then had several, as much as 82 head, sell from $2 to $203 of the non-implanted kind there. Pretty aggressive market there, and Gary told me that the majors were very aggressive, and most of the cattle that they were buying there at Yankton on Tuesday would have cost $3 dressed standing in the ring, and the best they want to do on a direct basis is $295, and that's delivered. These cattle were standing in the ring in Yankton, costing $3, and Gary knows what he's talking about because that's what he used to do the bulk of his career there. Box beef cutout values saw some mild gains. Choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon up 90 cents at 302.39. Selects up $1.15 at 276.16. Your slaughter starting to wane off again like it always does. 247,000 through the first 2 days of the week. 1,000 less than last week, but 3,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. The Punchy Pick of the Month contest, man, we've had them pouring in already for this month's contest. I thought last month might have been a little bit weak, but man, we've got some humdingers already turned in, but we want everybody to turn them in, and you can turn them in as often as you want. It doesn't cost anything to do that. If you get a Punchy Pick, just send it to us at punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. And we'll throw it in the hat for every month, and then every month the grand prize is some really cool stuff from Beaver Feed in Beaver, Oklahoma, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, and then the best part of the grand prize is, of course, that full case of Farapeace, the revolutionary product that everybody's just having a fit about. Continue to see and hear more testimonials on how great Farapeace is working as you guys start thinking about weaning some cattle or getting in some cattle, high risk type cattle that are having separation anxiety from their mothers somewhere. You might want to think about getting some Farapeace. And at the conclusion of this Feeder Flash video report here, going to have a testimonial video from my buddy Jeff Slatton. Be sure and hang on and watch that video. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Tuesday sits at 244.98 based on an 800-pound cash auction steer. That was up 43 cents from the end of Monday's trading and setting just 4 cents per hundred from your latest CME cash feeder cattle index, and it is by far the best thing you can do to try to estimate what that's going to be. I got some sales coming up here today on Wednesday. Tri-County Stockyards in Motley, Minnesota. Talked to Mitch there, and he's going to have 5 loads of yearling heifers weighing 8 to 8.5. They'll be the good kind, guys. Plus several bunches of cow-calf pairs. Get on to dvauction.com and check out the sale there at Tri-County Stockyards in Motley, Minnesota. I guarantee you those yearling heifers would be outstanding in quality. Also heard from Jim Santamasso, which I got to see the other week at the Cattle Marketing Hall of Fame induction, where he has been inducted in the past, but he was also there. But Sterling Livestock Commission in Sterling, Colorado, he's going to have about 1,200 head of yearlings here today at his sale in Sterling, Colorado, so be sure and check that out if you're in the market. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri, had about 2,000 head through the ring. Another 700 that they have in their weekly in-house video that they do with help from DV Auction. The calves sold from $4 to $8 higher through the ring there in West Plains. Spots as much as $10 higher. Yearlings were not well tested, but sold firm on a light test where they were. Don't forget, next Friday, August the 18th, they're going to be having a special bred cow and pair sale at Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri. They've got several dispersals there. We hate to, it's a good time to have dispersals for those that are doing it because the market on everything is near all-time record highs. I just hate to see individuals getting out of the business, and I feel like there's not as many young people that have the opportunity to take their place. So we're bound to be having fewer producers all the time, but they're going to have several dispersals at Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, next Friday the 18th, and you can view and bid those on dvauction.com. Talk about your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day. It was Denny Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas. Had a good test of bigger feeders there. About 2,300 head of feeder cattle through the ring there. You look at your best tested weights, and they're on the heavier weight steers. 457 head of 7-weight steers in St. Mary's, Kansas, average 766 pounds with a weighted average price of $251.78. They had 941 head of 8-weight steers at Rezac Livestock Commission. They averaged 865 pounds on the heavy side of the 8s with a weighted average price on all of them of $244.40. Look at some heifers. How about 107 head of 6-weight heifers, average $646, average price $243.46, and 152 head of 8-weight heifers, St. Mary's, Kansas, averaged 840 pounds, weighted average price $236.14. Give you several individual quotes from all around. How about Alma Livestock Auction in Alma, Nebraska, south central Nebraska there, guys. How about 60 head, a load of 845 pound steers, bring $250 there at Alma. Good sale on them. How about Bluegrass Stockyards, the big flagship location in Lexington, Kentucky, on Tuesday? They sold a pretty good big load of Holstein steers. Sometimes you guys like to know what those would bring. You don't see many Holstein steers sell like you did several years ago, but 57 head, 988 pound Holstein steers bring 180.10 through the ring there at Lexington, Kentucky at the new Bluegrass Stockyards facility right there. How about Riverton Livestock Auction in Riverton, Wyoming? They sell 59 Pee-wee steers, weighed 395 at $327.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. It was 140 steers that weighed 831 and bring 266. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.
My name is Jeff Slatton with the Beaver County Stockyards. We run a large number of yearlings. This fall, Rodrigo with Ferropeas came to me and wanted me to try this product. Since then, our medicine bills went to nothing. This is not an antibiotic. It makes your cattle keep hydrated. It makes your antibiotics and your drugs work like they should. I feed quite a large amount of cattle, and I'm sending them to feed yards, and every feed yard likes it now. We went from doctoring 40% of them last November to almost nothing. We're not having any bad eyes or foot rotters. It's eliminated tons of our problems. I would not buy a set of calves without using this. I think this has made me more money than any antibiotic or drug that I've ever used. This is not a paid advertisement. This is good stuff. If you want to make some money, buy you some little calves, use this Ferropeas and save a lot. I don't know what else to say, but it's the best product I've ever used.